Welcome students. In this lesson we learn about input in Java. There are numerous classes related to input in Java, but we'll confine ourselves only to those mentioned in the ICSE syllabus. I'll be covering this part of the syllabus in two videos. In this video we'll be dealing with initialization, parameters, introduction to packages and input streams. In the next video, I'll be covering types of errors and types of comments. Now, the term input in programming refers to the act of putting data into a computer. The input may take place at different stages in the life cycle of a program. Let us have a look at those stages. Initialization refers to the input provided before the execution. The value in this case is stored in a variable using the assignment operator. This method essentially hardwires the value in the program. The program has to be recompiled to change the value. Parameters refers to the input provided at the time of execution through function arguments. This method is more versatile than the initialization method, as no recompilation is needed to change the value. Input stream is used to provide data during program execution. In programming, stream refers to the flow of data. Input stream means the data is coming from an input device. The input device may be any input device, but the scope of the syllabus limits it to the keyboard only. So, this was the theoretical aspect of the syllabus. Linus Torvalds, the creator of Linux, once said, "Talk is cheap, show me the code." Let's see how these concepts apply to the actual Java code. Now we'll have a look at the three input modes one by one. I'll demonstrate the modes with a simple example of the addition of two numbers. Let us start with the first mode of input, which is initialization. I already have some boilerplate code for you, so let's see what is inside. So we have a blank class with just one method, public static void main, which is empty right now. So we have to add two numbers and we have to display the sum. So we'll be needing three variables. int a is for the first value, b is for the second value, and then I'll say sum for storing the sum. Now, I am purposely skipping out the initialization part right now. See what happens when I skip it. Now we'll try to display it. We'll say system.out.println and I say sum is, and then I concatenate the sum over here. We are missing one more thing, and that is we have to compute the sum. So we'll say sum is equal to a plus b. Now, we have declared the three variables a, b and sum. We have assigned the sum of two variables a and b into the variable sum, and we are trying to print the sum. Now the missing part is the initial value. There is no initial value in a and b. So if we try to compile the program, we get an error. Let's see what the error is. The error is variable a might not have been initialized. That means it doesn't have an initial value. So let's say we go over here and we assign the value 2. Now if we again compile, please note the second variable is not yet initialized. So if I say compile, again you get the same error, but this time for the variable b. Let us assign a value over here as well. So we say b is equal to 3. So now a is equal to 2. b is equal to 3, sum is equal to a plus b, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So if I compile the program again, the program compiles. And now let us run it and see what happens. So I run the program and we get the answer 5, which is right. Now the disadvantage of this method. The disadvantage of this method is that if I want some other value, I have to edit the program and then recompile it. Otherwise, if I run the program again, I'm going to get the same answer, 5 again. So if I want to change it, I'll edit the code, change the value into something else, let's say 5, again compile the program, and then again run the code. Now this time what will happen? We'll get the correct answer, which is 7. But recompilation is necessary. Now, let us see how to provide data at the time of execution using parameters. So, we'll open our parameter class and you'll see that I have declared a very simple function called findSum. The function findSum has been declared as public so that it can be accessed from anywhere in the program. It has been declared static so that it can be called without creating an object of the class parameter. It is void so that we don't have to return anything. And what is a function now? A function is simply a named block of code. That means if I paste the earlier code over here, whenever we use the word findSum, we can call this method. So let's place this in the main. So I say findSum. Now if I run this program, if I call the main method, computer will come inside the main method. It will invoke or call the findSum method, and then within the function, whatever is written will execute one by one, which is essentially the same that we did earlier. So if I compile and run this program now, we get sum is 7. Please note that we are still using the initialization method and not the parameter method. So let us define a parameter. So what will happen in this case is that we have to remove these two variable declarations from here. We don't need it over here now. And we'll declare the two parameters. I'll call it A and B. So we have declared two parameters A and B. And when we are calling the function, we can simply say that, okay, 2, 3. Now please note, this line will be executed when the computer comes to it during execution, and then this function will be called. That means the value is being provided to the function via parameters at runtime. Now let us run this code. So compile, close, right click, and we run the method. And there you are, sum is 5. If we want to change the value, we can change it over here. So let's say 31. If I again compile the code, this time we'll get 33. And we are getting 33. So this is slightly better than the earlier method because now we have the flexibility to change, but even now we are changing the code. In the next part of this video, you will see how we can take the input during the execution of the program when the program is running. Also note that BlueJ allows us to provide the parameters using the GUI. For example, I can right click on the parameter class and call the function directly. A window will open asking you for the values. So I'll provide the values, let's say 2 and 3. And then when I click OK, the same thing will happen and we'll get our answer. In this case, sum is 5. Now we'll see how to enter data during program execution using input stream. We'll start with the code that we use for initialization example and then modify it to use input stream. To input the data using input stream, we'll be using the scanner class. So let's begin. I'll open the input stream class and I'll paste the old code. That is int a is equal to 2, b is equal to 5, sum is equal to a plus b, and then we'll print the sum. Now, no need to run this code because we have already run this code many times in the course of this video. So we want to remove the initialization part first. That is, we'll simply declare the variables a and b. Now we need to declare an object of scanner class. So scanner, and we have to give a name. Let's call it in is equal to new scanner. And in the constructor, we'll provide the source of the input. And since we are taking the input from the keyboard, which is represented by system.in, so we'll write system.in over here. So what it essentially means is that we are telling the class scanner to read the data from the default stream, that is the system.in. Now notice the class scanner is underlined in red, which means that there is an error. It is not able to find the symbol class scanner. That is because by default, only the classes declared in the java.lang package is available in a program. And in this case, we are trying to use the class which is not available by default. That means it is not there in the java.lang package. So we'll have to import the package which contains the scanner class. That is, we'll go to the top of the class and we'll say import java.util.asterisk, and now this will import all the classes declared in the package util. Util stands for utility, and then the line below the scanner disappear, meaning that now the scanner class is available for us to use. So this is the Java's way of organizing the code. A group of similar classes are clubbed into packages, and if you want to use any package, you have to import that package. So now the import is done, and we have declared the object, and we have connected the scanner object to the system.in, that is the default input or the standard input stream. Now, since we are taking the input at runtime, we must first inform the user that we are expecting an input from the user. And for that, we'll display a message. We'll say system.out.print, and we'll say enter the values of integer variables a and b. After we have prompted the user, we'll now actually take the input. So we'll say a is equal to in. In is the object of the scanner class declared over here. And then we'll say dot next int. Similarly, we have to read the second variable also. So we'll say b is equal to in dot next int. And then when everything is over, it's a recommended practice to close the stream, to tell the computer that, okay, our job with the input is over. So in the end, we'll say in dot close. Please note that this is not essential, but it's better to always close it. And now if we run the program, see what happens. Computer is prompting us to enter the values of integers a and b, and let's say I give the value 3 and 2. There you are, sum is 5. Now please note that we can change the delimiter, meaning I can run the program again and I can give both the inputs in the same line. Computer will still take the input. The first value, that is 3, will go into A. The second value, which is 2, will go into B. The answer is still the same. Sum is 5. So if there are multiple inputs being taken, you can either separate them by a space or more than one space, or a tab or an enter. So any white space can be used to separate the input. One more thing which I would like to point out is that we have different functions for reading different data types. In this case, we were entering integers, so we use next int. If you want to enter short variables, you will say next short. If you want to enter long variables, you will say next long. If you want to enter float variables, you will say next float. If you want to enter double variables, you will say next double. For strings, you'll use next, next line, or next.char at 0. That we'll be discussing when we'll study strings later on in the chapter. That's all for this video. Thank you.